vibrations in everything like prayers and hymns. George Harrison. So I think that quote is really interesting. With he's understanding that the vibrations of music and the vibrations of a painting have an effect of your mood. So if you're at a concert, all right. So picture this: you're at a concert. There's a band on stage and they're playing music, and the guitarist gets a solo, and he's playing the solo, and the whole crowd is bouncing up and down, and the drummer is kicking the bass drum, and you hear the kick of the bass drum, and the whole crowd is moving with that music. Those 4 people up on the stage are creating a vibration which everybody can agree upon and create a happy oneness. That vibration allows people to come together, and that's just a small scale of it. That's just them creating a sound vibration, but that moves to a spiritual vibration, etc., across our country, across the world. And I think that's something people take for granted.
All right, so back on the topic of vibrations. We got the physics definition of vibration, which is simply an oscillation of the parts of a fluid or an elastic solid whose equilibrium has been disturbed, or of an electromagnetic wave. So simply, we all have light, therefore we all give off this light energy, and that light energy creates vibrations, which gives us an electromagnetic field that we cannot see but is always present within literally everything in our lives. This little Ra statue, these books, my computer, my body, your body, everything is light energy, therefore everything is giving off a vibration. So the informal definition of vibration is a person's emotional state, the atmosphere or place, or the associations of an object as communicated to and felt by others. So not only is your vibration physical, we're giving off an electromagnetic wave, but it's also internal, because like the emotions that you go through without your day also give off vibrations. So whether or not I'm sad or I'm happy, if I'm sad, I'm always in a lower vibration. But when I'm happy, I'm feeling joy, I'm feeling joy, I'm feeling happiness, I'm feeling enlightenment, I'm feeling all these things, I'm happy. The vibration is just much higher, and that also coincides with the higher level dimensions of consciousness, which is the 5D in its essence.
So right, when you're saying you're raising your vibration, you're getting into that flow state, right? So now when we talk about the flow state, you're raising your vibration, you're getting into it. Why is raising your vibration putting you into a flow state? Think about it like this in physics. It's simple, right? You have ice, you freeze ice, right? Everything is vibrating at all times, right? This table is vibrating, the molecules are vibrating.
Everything is magnetic.
Exactly. Water, it's vibrating. So when you freeze that water, the molecules, since they're cold, they're not vibrating as much, which is why ice is a solid, right?
Which happens to be,
exactly.
It's more dense.
Exactly, it's more dense. So then when you unfreeze it and becomes water, they're vibrating even more when it's a liquid, and it can flow around everything. And then once it becomes a gas, which it's even vibrating at the highest frequency it can, it literally floats up into the air.
Like we don't see it.
It's not even bounded by gravity anymore. It floats into the air. So that just shows what does it allow you to do?
It allows you to do a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, when you talk about the vibrations, it's just that really what you want to do is just you want to consciously try and always put yourself into the highest vibration that you can. Try and create the best internal environment for yourself. But when you find yourself in those lower vibrational states, not to run away from them, but rather to sit with them and understand them, because that's going to give you the key on how to get out of them for good. And you don't want to wallow and run from it, because then it only gets worse. It's like, that ice, if you don't try and melt it, it's not going to go out of its way to melt. You have to, work for it, and then eventually it's going to become free, finally.
Leaving the ice in the freezer, it stays frozen.
Exactly. You got to take the ice out of the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
You got to step outside yourself to really master.
Step outside the comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
The ice is comfortable in the freezer.
Bible here. We got the Egyptian Book of the Dead. These are just 2 of our books, but we've all read countless stories of ancient texts, Sumerian tablets, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, just like millions of ancient texts. We haven't read personally, but we're starting to dive in by taking all these texts, and we can try and find a true answer to what our existence really is. And they all say the same thing pretty much, that we're all just consciousness living in this three-dimensional reality.
I think
say the same thing.
I think that a lot of these ancient texts point primarily to the fact that we were much more spiritually and technologically advanced in our distant and maybe even not so distant past. That we aren't taught in school that, hey, like these advanced civilizations were on Earth and they were doing this and they were doing that, and the stories of the gods were extraterrestrials, etc. Like, this is information that you're not being taught in any sort of public school or private school for that matter.
Just because they decide what's true and what's not true. Just like, this fact-checking stuff is nothing new. You just look at the public school system, or any school system, any university. They decide what's fact, what they're going to teach, and what isn't fact. You could look at these, and it's still, a sense, a written account of a supposed history, like any other historical text. It's just that, from an academic standpoint, that in the system that we have, they've declared that this is fiction and not truth. But who are they to decide that? We should all be trying to read everything, all types of religious texts, sacred texts, history books, try and pull information from everywhere, because at the end of the day, they really are all just different ways of trying to say the same thing, that we are here for something bigger than we're being told. And even the texts have been, manipulated over years and stuff. But there has to be a little bit of truth left in it, just because of the cosmos.
Yeah, and that's not even to say, like, we take all this stuff to be fact, but it might not necessarily be fact. And we accept it to be the truth because we've sat down and read it, and not only have we read it, we've reflected on it and sat down and practiced what the texts are saying to do. And once you say you read down the tablets of Thoth, and you practice the teachings that Thoth went in to teach us, just being conscious of the mind, body, spirit, you sit down and you meditate you meditate for 5 minutes a day. You simply start by being conscious of your breath. You'll realize that you are this light energy, and you are just perceiving this reality from outside yourself through this chemical body.
So I think a great quote by Thoth, if we're going over there, in here where he's talking about meditation. Turn thy thoughts inward, not outward. Found thou the light soul within. Know that thou art the master. All else is brought from within. Grow thou to realms of brightness. Hold thou thy thought on the light. Know thou art one with the cosmos, a flame and a child of the light. So basically, he's trying to say that, like, you are light, and to realize that you have to look in through meditation and other mindfulness practices. And I think that he has a lot of wisdom in there, right? And he explains how you need to make the two one, talking about light and wisdom, right? Or love and wisdom. You have to make light and wisdom one to have power, right? And power is prevalent throughout the universe. And to truly create power, you have to bring together light or love and wisdom, right? I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I have a little bit to add with Thoth, where he's saying that child of light from the cosmos. It's basically just the oldest religious text that is. They all say the same thing, that Jesus Christ is the light. God is the light. All these things are the light, and we are its children. And we really are. We all have that divine spark of consciousness of light, and our whole purpose of being here is to better ourselves to the max, so that we can finally, when it's our time to go, we can unlock that spark and go to where we truly belong, and then use that and become these people that have been talked about for history for thousands of years, these gods, so to speak, that walk the earth, these people like Yeshua, these people like Buddha, these people, and all over the place, that were at just such an advanced level that people really did perceive them as gods. And as to whether or not they were, it's up to everybody's belief. But in one way or another, we all are gods, and so are they.
And that's really a good point, because I just brought up the two as one. I got the quote right here. So Thoth talks a lot about making the two one, and when Thoth talks about it, he talks about making love and wisdom one, which is power.
What
right?
do you mean by the two and one?
The two and one. So when you
being what?
Two being love and wisdom are the two. When you combine love and wisdom into conscious infinity, you have power, right?
Okay.
Right? And that same exact premise also goes for thought and emotion. When you completely make your emotions and your thoughts one, you don't react emotionally, and you don't react. You just think consciously at all times. Those thought and emotions that also generates power, right? And then Jesus also talks about that in the Bible, making the two one. They talk about it in Buddhism. I have a Jesus quote right here. When you make the two one, you will become the sons of man, and when you say mountain move away, it will move, right? Now that's powerful. It's saying that a man has the power of God if he is to make the two one, right? That's something that's heavily like disagreed with.
It's very heretical.
That's
Very heretical.
He's basically saying you put the love and the wisdom together, you might possibly have the power to move the mountain.
Yeah, but you see, even what's wrong about what they did to Jesus, to Yeshua in the Bible, is when he comes down and he's preaching that he's the Son of God, they call him a heretic. But Jesus references, I believe it's Psalm 82, verse 7, where God says, "Ye are gods, but ye shall die like men," where he tells them themselves that you are gods, but you're not quite there yet. You still have to go through this. And even when you look at the story of the Bible in the book of Genesis, the tree of knowledge, eating that apple, is what gave us consciousness. That's when Adam and Eve realized that they were naked. So in a sense, is that eating the apple gave us the knowledge of the gods, which is consciousness of itself. That's what we all come to and where we long to return to.
That love resonates at a high level of consciousness. David R. Hawkins, the author of Power and Force, The Map of Consciousness Explained, Letting Go, all these great books, he mapped out consciousness and gave each level emotion a number that goes along with it. At the lowest levels, we have shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, all these things lower, resonating on lower vibrational frequencies. When you get up to the higher levels of acceptance, inner light, inner wisdom, inner love, and oneness, they vibrate in the 4th to 5th levels of consciousness, and you get to oneness. And like Sean was saying, Jesus always talks about I am. If you sit down and read the Bible and replace I am with oneness, it's a completely different story. Because his whole message got misconstrued because they sit here and tell you that he was God, but no, the whole time he was just telling you that you have the immense power within you to play God. Your thoughts can physically create your reality, and that's what we're trying to do here right now.
Manifestation.
We're trying to get there ourselves. We're just trying to also help everybody else get there too.
Yeah, because by us sitting down and doing this, we're not only raising our consciousness, but we're hoping to raise yours as well. And by you even maybe sitting here watching it for 5 minutes, your consciousness will be raised along with, and then you take this knowledge that you're learning from us and you tell someone else, and then that's just how it works. Frequencies of consciousness at the most high level, at resonating at 540, that's self-realization, that's a oneness, that's the 5th dimension. That's what our podcast is all about, resonating at that 5D at all times, right? And that's all about oneness, because I'm a soul, he's a soul, he's a soul, but at the end of the day, once we pass on to the next life, we're all one, we're all a soul, we're all just living this life right now. But so Jesus says in the Bible, or Yeshua rather, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So you replace that I am with oneness. Oneness is the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through oneness. Mm-hmm. Alright, so basically we got a little bit of time left, but on this first episode of the 5D Spiritual Warrior Podcast, we're talking about energy, frequency, vibrations. We've discussed a whole lot of things today. We've tried to explain energy, frequency, vibration to our best of knowledge. We've tapped into a lot of other things, a lot of esoteric knowledge that we're going to hopefully get into within the next couple episodes and episodes to come. Tapped into consciousness. We tapped into it all.
And this is just like, this is the very beginning for us, not only for what we've just delved into here, but all the stuff that we haven't even delved into, what we know of, is not even the tip of the iceberg in the grand scale. It's just us starting to realize that the iceberg is even there.
Exactly. We're realizing the iceberg exists, and we want to make all this information accessible and practical for everybody, because I think this type of information is the stuff that everybody needs to hear. Not that they want to hear, but they need to hear. And you hear a lot. You know the quote. It's easier to fool somebody than convince them they've been fooled. And I think that's what a lot of people feel like a spiritual awakening is like. It's hard to come by because they feel like they've been fooled. Tomfoolery, right? They don't want to feel like they've been fooled. And I think that
no one wants their reality
exactly.
to break it. We're not here to break your reality. You only watch us if you're ready to accept it from an outsider standpoint and just like take it all in and see where it goes from there.
Yep. Well, that was the
that's a good
first
summary.
episode of the 5D Spiritual Warrior podcast. I'm Corey Engelhart with my co-hosts.
I'm John Strick.
And I am Mr. Sean Doherty.
And tune into the second episode where we dive into all things consciousness.
Oh yeah.
Truth bomb. Boom!